As for the ear donation, ear surgery, ear repair, whatever, as you can see, the German Shepherd ear is not as big as the bat's ear. So, but they still have pretty much like the same shape to them. Actually, the German Shepherd one has a little bit longer hair on the back, but this is just to repair my German Shepherd. It doesn't have to be perfect. I always have the hat on them. Like, I'll still have the hat on him because that's who he is. He likes wearing his little hat. But if the hat were to come off or something, at least you would be able to see that he's got two ears. And you wouldn't be able to tell that they're, you know, imperfect unless you, like, got right up on them and looked. So, on the bat, I'm not just going to, like, cut random ears off to sew on them. I'm actually going to take it out of the entire, you know, head of him. Actually, maybe I won't, just to keep his head whole. Well, anyways, I will take off a part of the ear. So I did go ahead and just cut the ear instead of using the seam ripper to get it out of his head, because I figured the cutting will have a nice straight edge that I can use to sew on to Brian's head. Whoops, get off there. And with Brian's ear, I am going to go ahead and use that seam ripper to take this ear out of him. It will put a hole in his head, but I will take this ear, and you can see how it looks, you know, it's got two edges, you know, there, it's got the two edges. I will go ahead and sew each edge to, you know, out around all over, and it will connect in the middle. I will sew and pinch, you know, like sew it together in the middle so that it's not just all a big open hole with an ear. And I will go ahead and take his ear out and show you what it looks like. Now, it's hard to see on this video, but when you do it, separate the two colors as tight and hard as you can. And if you can see the, oh no, you can't, hold on, that white bit that's on top of the ripper is actually a thread, and you will want to separate the ear, like separate the black from the tan by the threads, and not actually cut into any fabric, like any tan fabric or any black fabric. So you are just taking the stitches out and not actually cutting his ear off. This will actually give you a better idea. Now that I started taking a few threads out, you can see they are pretty white threads, and I have my seam ripper in between them, and I'll just keep popping my threads until the whole ear is out. So there you go. I took off the remaining ear, the ear that was broke, and this is what a German Shepherd looks like without an ear, and this is actually the inside of a webkinz for those who are interested. I will go ahead and clean up all these little white threads and take them out so that I am able to sew on my little donor ear. And you can see that this ear is at kind of like a V shape, and it goes up and over. That is made that way so that you can see this little, you know, like dent in the ear, kind of like how it creases, so that the ear can like stick up. And I will go and put my, I will put my donor ear in there and sew it like up, bend it, sew it over, and it will stick up. It won't be as long because some of it will go inside, but it will stand up and pretty much match the other ear. And I will start to sew it on and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I got a couple stitches in, and there's my thread, and I will go and sew the entire like angle, because like I said, it was at a bit of an angle, and it's hard to see, it's getting a little dark out, but once it's sewn it will start to look like that, and it looks a lot thicker, but it's just the way the lighting and stuff is. So I will go ahead and sew the entire length. I'm going like through the tan, through the dark, out the back, and then just kind of like going back and forth, you know, back and forth. So it's like one solid stitch line through the entire ear. And I will show you in a minute what it'll look like once I sew it all on. Okay, so I went and finished up sewing the entire ear, and as you can see, once it's sewn, the two, you know, the colors of the fabric kind of like mesh into each other so that you can't see any seams or anything, and they just kind of like fold down. I mean, you can see the way the fuzz, you know, goes. And this is the back side of it. There's like a little black, there's just like random little black wisps. That's not like, it's just part of the fuzz. But I mean, there's random stuff, and this is the actual like factory Gaines made one, so you can see there's like random imperfections in it as well. No toy is going to be perfect, but this is what it looks like with the ear on, and it's hard to see now, but I will form it so that it like sticks up more, and you will see that the German Shepherd will have two perfectly standing ears. This one should come out a little bit more. So yeah, that's the tutorial on replacing a German Shepherd ear. I will now do the Rottweiler ear, and that will be the next one. So next up is Hobbs, and as you can see, his ear is gone. It's hard to see on a dark web, like a webkin with dark, fur, but you can see that the ears are folded over and attached. And this one, there's like a little bit left, just barely attached on there, and the rest has just been chewed off. So I will go ahead and remove this little bit of ear that is still remaining, and I will be using the other ear from the bat to put in, and sorry, my camera keeps going yellow, I don't know why it does that. And I will be attaching that ear and folding it over. This is not the same kind of fuzz as the bat, like the bat has, but I guess something like an ear is better than just having this, an ear is better than no ear. So I will go ahead and take that off and show you in a second. Okay, so his is very hard to see, to take, the seam ripper and get the threads out, but you can see like the little white bits, those are the white threads. So there is, an attachment, and it's white threads. So just be careful when you're opening, the ear up, so that you don't actually use the ripper into any fabric, and that you're just, getting stitches out and not, not cutting into his ear. So, yeah, this is what he looks like pretty much without an ear. And it's really hard to see, like I said, because he's so dark. And this fur is just like really, really fuzzy. So it's still hard to like separate it and then get in there with the seam ripper. But just take your time so you don't cut anything else or make any, any bigger holes than what's already there. And I will start at the top of this, hole that I made, and I will attach the ear up at the top, and I'll try to start, go from the top to the bottom of this hole. And I will attach the ear, and the Rottweiler's ears, they are kind of like folded over. If you can see his ear right here, it's folded down and kind of like tacked underneath. So after I attach the ear, I will tack it, or like sew it to the sides of his head, unlike the German Shepherd where the ear sticks up. So the bat ear has a little bit more of a point, so it may not match exactly, but I mean it does have still a bit of a point to the Rottweiler's ear, so hopefully it won't look too far off. But again, it's better than having a webkinz, that doesn't have any ear or that has a ripped ear. So it'll still be a huge improvement once you're all done, giving your webkin a new ear. And I will go ahead and sew that, and I'll show you my next step. Okay, so this one's a little different technique than the sewing on the German Shepherd. The German Shepherd ear is more or less like a straight line across because the ear is flatter, so you're just pretty much sewing around and sewing the entire ear flat. But the Rottweiler, I actually opened up the ear so that there's, like, this is one side, and I'm sewing it to the one side of the circle, and I will go around and sew it all the way around to keep like an opening, so that there's like an inside to the ear. Like, it's very hard to explain, but because this ear gets folded over, it's got a lot of like area inside the ear because it's sewn around as opposed to the solid line down. So I just figured I'd mention that, so that instead of sewing the ear straight across, to get like a German Shepherd looking ear, that it'd be better to sew around to give it like a fuller ear, so that when you bend it down and, sew the end in place, it'll look a little bit fluffier and, kind of puff out a little bit like this one does. So I will continue sewing and show you. Okay, so the ear is completely sewn on, and like I said, it's sewn all the way around the ear as opposed to the straight line, and you can kind of see it. It's a little bit different fuzz, but whatever. And all that is left to do is to take the inside of this ear and sew it against the head so that the ear lays down. You don't sew the entire ear down, just the underside, so that you can still kind of like lift up on the ear. Like you can see it still raises a bit, like the ear, but the part underneath is attached, so it looks more realistic when it's done that way. And I will go ahead and sew it down. Okay, so I went ahead and attached the bottom of that ear down, and well, this is what it looks like when it's all done. It's not a perfect match to the other ear, but he has ears now, so he doesn't look too odd. And actually, I will be putting that little dude hat back on him anyways, so this is just, for me to know that he actually has a second ear underneath. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully you made it through this really long video. And I hope I inspired some of you to, instead of like throwing Webkinz away or donating them and stuff, like obviously some people did with my Rottweiler and my German Shepherd, that you will hopefully be able to take maybe other old toys or something and donate their eyes or ears or parts of them or whatever to other Webkinz and save them instead. So, yeah, I hope I inspired you to try, fixing your Webkinz and stuff. And if not, I'm sure they will still have a lovely home with you. And I guess that's about it. So, thank you for watching. Bye.